Parshas Ki Seitzei, this week's Parsha, the Chinuch, the Sefer HaChinuch, where in the beginning of every Parsha, he puts the number of the mitzvos which is mentioned in that Parsha. In this week's Parsha, in Parshas Ki Seitzei, there are 27 mitzvos aseh, 27 positive commands, mitzvahs, and there are 47 loisasa, negative commands. And this week's parsha is known to have the most mitzvahs aseh and mitzvahs loisasa. In Parshas Ki Seitzei, when we end the year, we're about to approach the end of the year in another 2.5 weeks or less. There's a big shefa of Torah, of mitzvahs, of commands, what yes to do, what not to do, which is basically, this is the yisoid, this is the fundament, this is the yisoid. How a person connects to Hashem is through Torah mitzvahs. So Hashem gives us a shefa, a lot of mitzvahs aseh and mitzvahs loisasa. Like I said, 27 mitzvahs aseh, 47 loisasa. In a time when we're ending the year and about to get into the new year, this is a way of Hashem hinting to us, letting us know that this is the way, that the most powerful way that we connect to Hashem is through obeying the mitzvahs and not chas v'shalom violating the lavim, the negative commands. Very interestingly, in the beginning of the parsha talks about war. Ki Seitzei la melchama leivecha. The Torah starts this week's parsha talking about war, and then the Torah at the end of the parsha talks also about war, the war of Amalek. So the Torah starts with war and ends with war. In this week's parsha, there's a very common idea, which we'll see in Yetz Hashem and the Shiur, which has to do with this concept. A person should do rather, as much as the person could do. If it's becoming a better person, if it's going away from things that a person shouldn't be connected to, a person should do as much as he could do. Meaning, so many times the Yetzer Hara comes to us, and the way he gets us is, it's so big, it's so beyond what we could really get to in terms of Teshuvah, in terms of connecting to Hashem, in terms of becoming a better person, becoming closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's so big, it's so beyond, how is it possible to even get there? So the common idea in this week's parsha, in Parshas Ki Seitzei, is the idea that you, which is all of us, you do whatever you could do. And don't fall into the trap. How will I ever be able to accomplish? I will never reach anyhow the goal that Hashem wants me, or whatever I need to reach. The answer is we should do as much as we could. And obviously, when Hashem sees that we want to become better, we put it in our koyach and energy, and according to our ability, obviously with our challenges that we have in our generation, with so many challenges, Hashem knows our challenges. If we put in the koyach, the strength that we could, Hashem embraces us, and be'ezus Hashem, we're looking forward for a good year, for a good year. The beginning of the parsha, as I mentioned, has to do with Ki Seitzei la melchama leivecha. You go out and war on your enemy. And the end of the parsha talks about the idea of Zechoi, remember Es asher asa lecha Amalek, what Amalek did to you. And the Torah says, B'derech b'tzeischem in Mitzrayim, when you left Mitzrayim, asher korcha b'derech, Amalek brought a kritis, a coldness, baderech, in the road, in the way, which is connecting to Hashem. And the Torah goes, and the Torah explains, V'yizanav b'chol kol ha'nachasholim, and then the Torah says, Va'ato oye v'yogea, you were exhausted. You were exhausted. V'lo yirei Elokim, there was a lack of yiras Hashem, of fearing Hashem. So the Svarim Agdoshim, the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, they write something so powerful in these psukim. The Amalek symbolizes is the Yetzer Hara. That is Amalek. One of the most powerful and successful ways that Amalek, the Yetzer Hara, gets us is by putting us into a yush, to give up and to say we're not able. We can't. It's beyond us. That's one of the ways that he brings into our brain this yush, this giving up. We're not able to do it. We will not. We will anyhow not be able to accomplish. Says the Torah, don't let yourself from this Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. Oye v'yagea, he put in this exhausting, this feeling exhausted. I'm trying so hard. I'm not getting to what I want to get to. And chas v'sholem, a person gives up. This is, say the Talmidei Baal Shem, the mitzvah of mechias Amalek in every generation. In our generation, we don't know who Amalek is. But we know that we are challenged by our evil inclination with the Yetzer Hara all the time. And the Torah says, keep in mind, don't let yourself from this Amalek that's oye v'yogea, that's trying to bring in this yush, this laziness, this giving upness of feeling, I can't, I'm not able to do it. This is something that we have to stay strong and not let ourselves. So this is the end of the parsha, which is so suitable to the end of the year, when we're about to get into the new year, Tov Pei Vav, and we're ending now Tov Pei Hey, and we could get ourselves into this mode of saying to ourselves, you know what, we only have 2 more weeks. Will I be able to do what I need to do? Will I be able to do Teshuvah the way I need to? Will I be able to connect the way I need to? Don't give up. Don't. This is the idea of Amalek, of mechias Amalek, erasing the Amalek who says, you're anyhow exhausted, give up, you won't get anywhere. The beginning of the parsha, same idea. Ki Seitzei la milchama aloivecha. And we know that it has the simplistic meaning where the Torah says, when you go into war with your enemy, keep in mind, Hashem will give your enemy in your hand, and you'll be able to conquer your enemy. So, simplistic, talking in a very simplistic way. Obviously, it's not very simplistic. Reb Chaim Vital, the heilige student of the Riyah Kodesh, he says, the way he sees these psukim in the beginning of the parsha, he says, we as a nation, we have no ability to be able to overcome all our enemies. Now, we're talking about the physical enemies, meaning the enemies that want to destroy us, and we're talking about, says Reb Chaim Vital, of our spiritual enemy, the Yetzer Hara, and all of the koiches atuma, of the impureness that we're surrounded by. We don't, says Reb Chaim Vital, have the koyach, have the strength to overcome either of these two. We can't overcome the physical enemy. We can't overcome our spiritual enemy. The only way we could do it is with the koyach of Hashem. If a person, says Reb Chaim Vital, thinks 1 second that the person has the ability to overcome all of these different koiches physically and emotionally, he says this is the biggest problem which gets the person to fall in to problems and to chas v'shalom lose siyata d'shmaya, lose the koyach of Hashem helping him. We have to always keep in mind, says Reb Chaim Vital, that both physical enemies, spiritual enemies, we could only overcome with the koyach of Hashem. Says Reb Chaim Vital, therefore, when the Torah starts in this week's parsha, the Torah says, Ki Seitzei, you will go out la malchama in war with your enemy. The Torah doesn't say kil silchaim. You will go in. You will keep war with the oivecha. Why? Because we are not able to keep war with our enemies. Hashem, we need siyata d'shmaya. We need the help of above. Ki Seitzei, you go out, you do your ishtadlus, you do as much as you could do. Hashem says, I promise you, aloivecha, you'll be able to overcome your enemy, which is both the physical enemy and the spiritual enemy. So in other words, Reb Chaim Vital teaches us exactly what the end of the parsha teaches us. The end of the parsha talks about the mechias Amalek, to erase the koyach, the strength of Amalek. Zechoy, remember what Amalek did to us, which is basically teaching us, don't let yourself become oyev v'yogea. Don't fall into the trap which the Yetzer Hara wants to get us and say, you don't have the strength, you can't overcome your challenges, you can't overcome your struggles that you have. It's over, it's done. Don't let yourself fall into that trap. And this is the same thing in the beginning of the parsha. Reb Chaim Vital says, remember, you do yours. You try. You put in a shtadlus. You put in a little effort. Remember, keep in mind, you got to daven, you got to daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Hashem should help. Don't chas v'shalom lose the focus. You do whatever you could do, as much as you could. Don't chas v'shalom fall into this trap of Amalek, what Amalek wants us to fall into, which is giving up. You do yours, and Hashem promises us. Ki Seitzei la'malchama, you will go out in war, you will do whatever you could do. Aloivecha, you'll be able to overpower your enemy. The Gemara says in Masechtes Kedushin that there was a minig in Marava in Eretz Yisrael. People will say, they would say to a chassan, to someone that got married, they would say, Matzah oy moitza. Did you find a good zivuk? Did you find a good wife? Or moitza, chas v'shalom, which means the other way around, which means a wife, which chas v'shalom is not the best wife. So the question is, what was this whole asking in Marava and Eretz Yisrael? They used to ask a chassan, did you find a good wife, not a good wife? And the Gemara doesn't say they asked. The Gemara said they used to say, matzah or moitza. So is it a question or is it saying? What is this whole idea of this discussion when in Marava, when a person got married, they used to say, matzah, you found a good wife, or moitza, you found a wife that's chas v'shalom, the opposite. So say the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov that there is an idea over here, which is exactly what we spoke before. When a person establishes his new home, when he, the chassan and the kala, when they establish their new home, there are two ways how to establish a home. There's a way of chas v'shalom falling into the trap that I'm the one running the show, so to say. I'm the one who is so talented. I'll bring parnasa. I'll be able to build this beautiful house. I'll be able to buy this beautiful house. I'll be this successful businessman, thinking a lot about koichi ve'oitzim yodi. So they used to say, and then there's another way of knowing that when I get married, I need total siyata d'shmaya. Obviously, I could do my ishtadlus, exactly what we spoke before. I could do my ishtadlus, I could try. But obviously, we need huge siyata d'shmaya in every move. So therefore, in Eretz Yisrael, they wanted the chassan to remember these two concepts. When he establishes his home, they used to tell the chassan, matzah yisha. If matzah, I'll start with the other pasuk. Moitzi ani. If a person says, if a chassan says to himself, ani, it's me, it's I'm the successful husband, I'm the successful man, and I'll build this beautiful home. Mar mimavis, you should know that you're putting yourself into a very bitter place. If you think it's you, it's your koiches, it's everything you're in a very, very weak position because a person is not able to control every single step in life. It's impossible. Impossible. So if a person says to themselves, I'm the one in control, though this is a marmi moves, this is a bitter, bitter thing, worse than death. Motzah, if a person says, I found a wife, meaning it's not me, not moitzani. It was the Shatchin who found the wife. Obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought me the Kala. Everything is Hashem. He doesn't put himself into it. He knows that the Rebbeinu Shalom is the one in charge. He needs to do Ishtadlis. She needs to do Ishtadlis, but everything is Hashem. Then, Motzah Toiv, they'll have a Zisa Geshmaka life together. So again, the same idea, which we said before, which is the concept, which is the preparation to this very special day of Rosh Hashanah, when a person sees themselves, when we see ourselves, that we're so busy, we have so many busy days, we're busy coming and going and doing, and we feel that we don't have the right time to prepare for Rosh Hashanah, to be able to get into this Yom Adin the proper way. Don't forget, if you do what you need to do, and you daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom that he obviously, not that he does the rest, that he should do it. In other words, that you should have siyata d'shmaya. You'll go into the Yom Adin with a good note, with the right foot, which is be'emes the thing that we saw a lot of Gedolei Yisrael when it came the month of Elul. They had a big focus on Tehillim, on saying Tehillim, because Tefillah, this is the time of Tefillah. The Vilna Gaon writes in his Sefer, it says in Tehillim, V'snapel, I daven l'fnei Hashem arboim yoim. Moshe Rabbeinu, David Amalek says, he davened, Moshe Rabbeinu says, David Amalek writes in Tehillim that Moshe Rabbeinu says, I daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom 40 days. We are now in the days of Tefillah. These days are days of Tefillah. There's therefore so many Gedolei Yisrael from all different, no matter Chassidim or not Chassidim, anyone and everyone. The Tehillim was one of the very important things that people were connected in these days. If it was in the weekdays, or if it was Shabbos Kodesh, when you were able to say Kapitlach Tehillim, because when we say Tehillim, and we daven these days, the 40 days that we are now in, are Yemei Tefillah, Rachmim V'Ratzoin. And again, going back to this concept, which I started by the beginning of this year, we need to do what we could do, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who does it. And we have siyata d'shmaya if we know and we appreciate that we could only do what we could do. We see, and this is one of the things which is so important now in Elul, we see this idea of Teshuvah Shabbos. In other words, there's idea that a person should be moisev mechol al hakodesh. A person should add from the weekdays to bring the kedusha of Shabbos. Therefore, we know that a person should add. Now, some people do the candle lighting 18 minutes before, some people do 25 like we do. But the idea of Teshuvah Shabbos doesn't have to be 25 or 18 minutes, but at least a few minutes before Shkia, it's very important that we should stop doing malacha. A lot of the poskim hold it should be at least 4 minutes. At least 4 minutes before Shkia, we should stop doing malacha, which is considered of Teshuvah Shabbos. What is this idea of Teshuvah Shabbos? So the Rizal and the Baal Shem Tov and all his Talmidim, they basically explain to us that the Kedusha of Shabbos Kodesh is way, way, way beyond. It's so beyond. It's so big, which this world, the Olam HaGashmi, the world of physicality, can't really connect to this Kedusha. And the world of the Choil, that's what they say. The 6 days of Choil can be obvious. Shabbos Kodesh is Shabbos Kodesh. But on the weekdays, it's difficult to be able to have the Kedusha of Shabbos And to bring it in the light of Kedusha Shabbos into the weekdays is very difficult. How is it that we do it? So both the Rizal and the Baal Shem Tov and their Talmidim, they all said this is through Teshuvah Shabbos. Through adding a few minutes. And again, like I said before, if we can't do 25 minutes before, then we do a little bit less. So we don't do it the 25 minutes. Even if we don't do it 25 minutes, sometimes we don't chap. We think we have to do it from candle lighting. Obviously, the women who light the candles, they're obligated to start keeping Shabbos from then. And we know that there's a lot of halachas in terms of this. But us men, even if we don't stop doing malacha then, which would be the best to stop then, but if we can't, from 25 or 18 or whatever the minhag is, do a few minutes before, add to the Kedusha from Shabbos. Why? Because the Teshuvah Shabbos brings bracha in the Yemei HaChol. You hear an amazing zach. So Kedusha Shabbos is so big. In order to be able to bring the Kedusha from Shabbos into the weekdays, we need this additional Teshuvah Shabbos, which is basically Moisef, adding Mechoil El HaKodesh. From the weekdays, we make it into Kedusha. Those minutes, those 4 minutes or whatever it is, it shines in the light from Shabbos into the 6 days. Says the Slonim Rebbe, the Beis Avraham, he says, the same idea is with Elul. He says, Elul, the month that we're now in, is the 6th month from Nisan. Nisan, according to the months, is the first month of the year. We go according to Nisan because that's when we were taken out of Mitzrayim. So Nisan is the first month. Elul is the 6th month. Elul is like the 6th day of the week, which is Erev Shabbos Kodesh. In order to be able to have a year, a spiritual year, a good year, we need to be Moisef Mechol El HaKodesh, meaning we have to add from the Shvi, which is Tishrei. Shvi, the 7th month, which is the month of Tishrei. We have to add Kedusha, add to the 7th month, which is the month of Elul. So just like Erev Shabbos Kodesh, when we add a few minutes before Shabbos, Tosfos Kedusha, that puts the Kedusha into the weekdays, says the Beis Avraham, the Slonim Rebbe, by being a better Yid in the days of Elul, by trying to be more serious with davening, more serious with learning, more serious with not speaking Lashon Hara and being a good Yid. This is Moisef Mechol El HaKodesh, and we bring Kedusha into Elul, and that spills over to the entire next year, which is Tov Shabbos. We benefit from these days in Elul. So again, Elul is a very, as we spoke already the last few weeks, Elul is a very unique, very special day, very special month. In this week's Parsha, one of the psukim, which the Noida Yehuda, he sees it to be connected to Rosh Hashanah and also to Elul. There's a pasuk that says, if a person is impure, if a person has a tumah, in this week's Parsha, Perek Chav Gimel pasuk Yud Beis, if a person is impure, a person should see to go to the mikveh before nightfall, before night, and then the Torah says, after that, the person becomes tahir. Trying to find the pasuk inside, Perek Chav Gimel, pasuk Yud Beis. So the Torah says, V'hoya, these are the words in the pasuk. V'hoya lifnois eref. It would be right before the sun goes down. Yirchatz b'moyim, the person should wash himself in a mikvah, means. Uchvoya shemesh, when the sun sets, yovel treicha machni, he's allowed to be entering the machna. So we're talking about certain tumah, which a person doesn't have to wait 7 days, because when a person becomes impure, when touching a dead body, there is a longer period of time that the person has to be outside the camp. But over here, we're talking about a person who has an impureness, which is a certain type of certain type of impureness. That's only lifnois erev, and you go in the mikvah, and then you could be toyer. So the Rabbi Yehuda, he teaches this pasuk that it has to do with Rosh Hashanah. He quotes a Zohar HaKadosh. In Zohar HaKadosh, it says like this. It says, when the Satan comes to talk bad on the Yidden, when he comes to Rosh Hashanah to be mekatrik, to say bad things about us Yidden, Hashem says, Satan, you need to bring witnesses. Who will witness? Who will be the witness that the Bnei Yisrael did not behave? So Hashem says, you know who would be the best witness? The sun and the moon. They're always out there, and they see what Yidden do. They should be the one coming to witness. So it says the Zohar HaKadosh, a very interesting Zohar. Obviously, I don't understand exactly what the Zohar means, but this is the Zohar. Zohar says, the Satan goes and he starts looking for the sun and the moon. He finds the sun, but the moon he can't find on Rosh Hashanah because the moon is hidden. Because Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the month and there's no moon. Says the Zohar HaKadosh, when the Satan comes back and he says, I only found the sun, Hashem says, no. The halacha in the Torah is you need two witnesses. One is not enough. And since you only have one, I'm not able to accept your kitruk, you're talking bad. Says the Zohar, and this is very, very powerful. Says the Zohar, but chas v'sholem, if a person speaks lashon hara, or a person doesn't watch on certain parts of his body, his eyes, his ears, his mouth, this person is considered like a balmum, like a person who has a blemish. He said, if a person has a blemish, if a kohen has a blemish, the kohen, one person can determine if it's considered like a mum or not. You don't need two witnesses. You don't need two people saying that. So if chas v'sholem, says the Zohar, if a person, chas v'sholem, has a blemish because of not doing what he needs to do with his body, with his limbs, then chas v'chalila, the Satan has koyach. Because unfortunately, that's called a mum, and that's enough, the sun itself. Says the Zohar, you know how a person could take away this blemish? Says the Zohar, through doing teshuvah with bechi, with crying. If we do teshuvah and we cry when we do teshuvah, if we regret what we did and why we do it, we cry. The Demoye, says the Zohar HaKadosh, the tears that a person sheds when a person does teshuvah is very powerful, and that corrects, it takes away when the blemishes that a person has. And then the Satan again doesn't have power. So what do we see, says the Rabbi Yehuda? How is it that we should prepare ourselves for this Yom Adin, for this Heilige Day, Rosh Hashanah? And like I said before, obviously there's so much to do, and we need to have siyata d'shmaya. But one thing, says the Rabbi Yehuda, this is something that we could all do. Daven, and daven with our hearts, and we should be boicha, we should cry, and by crying, through crying, it erases all the blemishes in our body, and then the Satan has no koyach. Says the Rabbi Yehuda, this is hinted in this week's parsha. V'hoya will be lifnois erev, right before the time when the sun goes down at the end of the year, and we're nervous. How are we entering? How are we entering the new year? He says the eitzah is the way to do it is yirchatz b'mayim. Wash yourself with your tears, with your water, with your mayim, with your eye, with the water that you have in your eyes. If you're yirchatz b'mayim, if you purify yourself through the tears, uchvoy hashemesh, when the sun will go down, which is Rosh Hashanah, el yova, you'll be able to come el toicha machne, you'll be part of the machne, of the camp of the Yidden for a coming year of gesund, parnosa, naches, with everything that we all deserve. Two more things before we end this year. A very interesting thing that we find, and the Tverer Shloime, the Dromske Rebbe, he writes it in his Sefer. He says, when we make the Birchas HaTorah every morning, when we say the bracha on the Torah, Asher b'charbonu mikol ha'amim, we say it in the morning, Hashem chose us from all the nations, v'nosan lonu es Torah, and He gave us His heilige Torah. Right after the bracha on the Torah, we say Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, we say Birchas Koyanim. Why is it, says the Tverer Shloime, that we say Birchas Koyanim right after making the bracha on the Torah? So he says, and this is a very amazing, powerful thing to keep in mind always. He says like this. He says that the Mishnah says in Mesechtes Avos, Im lamadato Torah harbe. If you learned a lot of Torah, al tachzik toiv la'atzmach. Don't give credit to yourself. Because this is the reason why you were created. You were created to learn and to serve Hashem. So don't give credit to yourself that you learned so much Torah. Says the Tverer Shloime, there is another idea which is merames, which is hidden in these words of the Heilige Tana. He says, when a person does something good, see to spread the light to other people as well. Don't keep it to yourself. In other words, if you have something which you think other people will benefit, don't keep it. Don't hold on to it. Let other people benefit from this goodness that you feel other people could benefit. And it's basically, says the Tverer Shloime, also part of haftal reyacha kemoicha, loving another Yid, thinking about another Yid, and being selfless, which is obviously the way to prepare for Rosh Hashanah, which is the koyach ha'achdus. So he says like this: after we make the bracha on the Torah, we demonstrate. You know what happens when we learn Torah? When we learn Torah, we become better people. We think about others. We bring bracha into the world. Right after Birchas HaTorah, we say Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha Yoren Hashem Ponav Elecha. We bring the Birchas Koyanim into the world, because by learning Torah, we think about others, and we think that we want to spread bracha. We don't want to keep it to ourselves. We want to spread it wide, and we say Yivarechecha. Therefore, says the Mishnah, if you learn a lot of Torah, if you have certain abilities, certain qualities, al tachzik toiv la'atzmach, don't keep this goodness to yourself. Spread it up, spread the light to others. Other people should also benefit from this. Is in lamadata, beautiful is art. In lamadata, if you learn Torah harbe, al tachzik toiv la'atzmach, don't keep it to yourselves. He brings that the Heilige Tzaddik Reb Zishav Hanipoli, every single day, when he said the Birchas HaTorah, he made the bracha on the Torah, and he said Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, which brought bracha into the world. He went out of wherever he was into the marketplace, and he would find a person, and he would say lots of brachas to that person. He would give a lot of bracha, because he said if a person says Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, he becomes a conduit. He becomes a shtik bracha. And if you have this bracha in you, you need to give it to other people. So he would every day after Birchas HaTorah, he had this meaning that he would go find someone and give bracha to spread, to share light with other people. Not keeping it to himself, which is basically, again, an amazing way to prepare ourselves for Rosh Hashanah, to think about other people. Who is it that we could think of? Who is it that we could give bracha to? Who is it that we could make a person's day better? In any way, in every way, we could do it. We should do it. Al tachzik toivel atzmach. Don't keep the goodness to yourself. Finishing with one more powerful word from the Morinayim. In the week's parsha, it says, Ki sivne bayis chodosh, when you will build a new house, v'asisa, you shall do mako ligagecho, you should make a fence ligagecho to your roof, and loisosum domim beveisecha, you shouldn't chas v'sholom put blood in your house. V'loisosum domim beveisecha ki yipol al noifel mimeni, the person will fall down from this rooftop, which is a flat rooftop. We're talking about not the slanty ones that we have, but the flat ones that we have in Europe, in Eretz Yisrael, and Artzeinu Akdosha. It has to have a makkah. Loisosim domim beveisecha. Now, says the Morinayim, when a person, and the concept is a very powerful concept, which we could use in so many ways. He says, since the fate of Adam v'Chava, the world is filled with mazikim, with different spirits that want to do bad to us, and sitra achra, bad spirits, in unclean spirits, tuma spirits, and we as Yidden, we have the koyach, the strength, to be able to remove them, to push them aside, and they should go somewhere else. And they shouldn't harm us, and they shouldn't interfere with us, and we should have geschmack, a zisleben, and we should have pureness, a kedusha diga leben, a kedusha diga life. So he says to Morinayim, how do we do this? He says we do it. There's something called in Zoyar, in Chassidus, in Riyah Kodesh, Olam HaMachshava, the world of machshava, of thought, which is also the world of bina, of understanding. That world is Olam HaTikkun. It's a world of Tikkun. When we connect our thoughts, when we have pure thoughts, so many times we don't appreciate that our thoughts are so powerful. He says when we have pure thoughts and we think kedusha diga things, only by thinking kedusha, we have the koyach, the strength to remove all these bad spirits that shouldn't be in our way. Says the Morinayim, when a person builds a new house, up until then, this place was empty. Who was there, says the Morinayim? Bad spirits. Now when you build a house and you don't want these bad spirits to come with you, there is a eitzah, there is a thing that the Torah tells us how to remove them. Have pure thoughts. If your thoughts are pure and you are connected to Hashem, it's the dynamite which chases away all these bad spirits. Says the Morinayim, Ki yivne bayis chadash. You build a new house, and now you're concerned. All these mazikim, all these bad angels are now basically, they're here. I basically went into the territory. What is the eitzah? What is the idea to push them away? Vasisa maka, put a fence l'gagecha. He says gagecha, the person's brain is gagecha, it's his roof. Over here, it's like his roof. Put a fence around your roof. Think about good things. Think about positive things, about kedusha diga things. Don't let your brain think things that are impure. By thinking pureness, by thinking good things, it pushes away the sitra achra and these bad spirits, the mazikim, that they shouldn't have any power over us. Hashem should help. We should be zoiche. We should have this schus to appreciate that Hashem gives us so many koiches that we have, so many strengths that we have. We should be able to spread the light to other people. We should be able to always appreciate that Hashem wants only from us what we could do, and not fall into the trap of I'm not able to accomplish anyhow. Don't think that. Do as much as you could do. And the Torah promises us that if you do what you could do, I promise you, I'll help you, and you will be able to get to what you need to get. We should be zoiche to ksiva v'chsime toiva to shnas geula v'yeshua to brocha and atzlacha gesund, and we should have all the brachas in the Torah, and we should be zoiche to a geschmacke Shabbos with a koyach of Tosfos Shabbos Kodesh, adding from Shabbos to the weekdays. We should bring in the light to the 6 days of the week. We should bring in from the Elul, which is like the 6th day of the week, which is the 6th month. We should bring in the light into the 7th month and the entire year of Tov Shabbos, and you should have a wonderful Zisa Shabbos.